This next story is about two people who went to great lengths to save their dog's life, about the bond between two dogs, and about a community of strangers who joined the fight to save Angel. Angel's eyes say it all. She has been through hell: cancer, chemo, bone marrow transplant. But Angel is a smiling dog. She survived it all because of the tenacity of the two people who love her most, and because of the unwavering support of her best friend, Romeo. It began a little over a year ago when Angel and Romeo's parents were planning their wedding, and almost simultaneously found out Angel had B-cell lymphoma.
The survival rate with chemotherapy alone is 0 to 2%.
Completely unacceptable to Johnny and Christy Sullins. They begged their veterinarian for more options. The vet researched treatments all over the country. There was one shot at a cure: a canine bone marrow transplant. The only place in the country doing it in a clinical setting, North Carolina State University. The cost, $16,000, and that would be after they paid for 6 months of chemotherapy here at home. This young couple, living on a tight budget, never flinched. They went on with their wedding, with Angel as a flower girl and Romeo as the ring bearer. Except he didn't carry any rings. They canceled their rings and canceled their honeymoon. They had a dog to save. Their only question was, how long do we have to raise $16,000?
She says, well, the chemotherapy protocol is 6 months. We might be able to buy you another month. So we said, all right, 7 months, that's how long we got. There we go, here's your doo-doo.
And that would begin an odyssey that some might call a miracle unto itself. They first started an organization called Save an Angel.
I opened up a checking account for Save an Angel. I called up Christy and I said, you know, I opened up a checking account. This is what we're going to do. We're going to fight.
Christy started advertising on Craigslist.
We need stuff to sell on eBay to save our dog's life for a bone marrow transplant.
That led to garage sales.
We sold everything. Anything that could go in a garage sale, I mean, we were like, $1, 25 cents. 25 cents, 5 for $1, everything. I mean, we didn't
Furniture,
care.
stereo, tools, I mean, anything you weren't using.
Meanwhile, Angel was going through chemo, and Romeo was with her at every session.
Every single treatment. Everybody knew Romeo. They called him moral support.
Christy networked big time on Facebook and now asked for Mardi Gras beads to sell.
This is what we would say. You have to ask, you have to believe, and then you can receive.
And they constantly kept their eye on the goal.
We had checks on our ceiling written out for $16,000, and we would wake up and we visualize.
They created a web page, but it had a major limitation.
Unfortunately, Mac users couldn't view it because it was flash-based.
With all their networking, they entered a world they never knew existed, the animal community, with hundreds of nonprofits and thousands of people who care about animals.
Those folks are just amazing fundraisers, and they shared every bit of information they possibly could with us.
But the clock was ticking, and the money was slow to come. They realized they needed a website.
So we went to the library, you know, that square building that has books in it that, you know, your teachers told you about when you were in school.
They learned all they could and created Save an Angel.
Anybody who donated beads or ideas, time, money, we would take pictures with Angel, and we would put them up on the website, and we call them Angel Saints.
They gave Angel updates and took Angel and Romeo to all the local animal events.
It was almost as though they knew what was going on.
Angel, who had been skittish around people and animals, changed.
And all of a sudden, she just welcomed every dog that came towards her. Every human being she kissed, every child, you know, that would normally be irritating possibly. It was just like she loved them. She was so positive, so uplifting. She kind of drove us to keep going.
But time was up. The Sullins, with Angel and Romeo, drove to North Carolina State. With $11,000 and a $5,000 loan, they had no idea how they would pay back. But Angel was getting the bone marrow transplant. Shortly after they arrived, they got a phone call from a group called Rydell and Cody, a group that had just formed to help dogs with cancer. They had seen Angel's story on a canine cancer awareness website.
They said, we want to help. We want to save this girl's life. And we're like, oh, thank you.
Their $5,000 debt was paid. They had to leave Angel at the clinic for 2 weeks. It was a long, sad ride home with Romeo, who was depressed.
He didn't play. He just slept.
The battle to save Angel was also to save Romeo.
We were not going to lose one dog. We were going to lose 2 dogs. I mean, you take
your best friend away.
Yeah, I mean, it was like taking his other half away from him.
They all went back 2 weeks later.
They were reunited. They loved each other up. They started kissing each other and, you know, bumping butts. They got in the car. They crawled in the back, and they laid down on top of each other and fell asleep.
Something about the 2 of them, you know, they just complete each other.
Angel is 6 months out of her treatment and is cancer-free. Johnny and Christy have never looked back at wedding rings never bought or a honeymoon never taken. They have their family. They also have a mission. Save an Angel is completing its 501c3 nonprofit status, and it continues to raise money for the next dog who needs $16,000 for a bone marrow transplant. They have learned much about themselves, about the love of people who love animals, and about dogs.
They live now, in the now. Every moment is the greatest moment, and we could really learn something from our dogs by, you know, observing that ourselves.
Angel was the 23rd dog in the United States to undergo a bone marrow transplant operation. The Sullens want the Save an Angel organization to not just raise funds for future canine operations, but also to serve as a guide to those who need information on where to go for help. For information on Save an Angel, you can find a link on our website, WWL-TV.com. And if you want to help, they have created this calendar, Mike, which is great, and they did a thing on the web, and these were the winners. So they're all wonderful dogs, and you can support it by getting this calendar.
Inspirational pioneers.
Wonderful people, wonderful dogs.
Oh my gosh. We'll be right back.